Okay, wonderful. Okay, so nobody's there, but I'm going to go ahead and start my presentation because it's just after 9 and everything probably works pretty much by schedule here. So, hi, my name is Sky. I'm a nurse and I'm presenting at this time the topic of love and healthcare. And yeah, I want to welcome you to this session. I'm just going to hook us up now to start screen sharing and hook us up now to the presentation that I have prepared for you. So share my screen and here's my presentation. Just a moment. Share that. Okay, so here is my presentation on the presence of love in healthcare, a nurse's experience. Yes, I am Sky Höppner. This presentation is based on work that I conducted for my master's thesis of nursing back in 2012. I started, which then I developed into an article which was published in the International Journal of Health, Wellness, and Society, and then it was adapted into the presentation that you see here now. And so I would like to say a big thank you to Donna Kurtz and Penelope Cash and Jeanette Vinnick, the super team that guided me through conducting my master's thesis work and helped create this piece of work into what it is today. So let's begin and welcome. So we're going to talk about, in this presentation, we're going to talk about my study, how and why it was conducted, findings from the research, how we apply the findings to practice, how do we show love in healthcare. We're going to talk about boundaries, touch upon boundaries. We're going to talk about self-care, HeartMath, the HeartMath connection, if anybody's heard about HeartMath. And finally, a call to action. And I wouldn't mind finishing with a little heart mind connection exercise by Greg Brayton at the end of this. Okay. So, background for love and healthcare. I decided to study love at a period of time in my life when I was going through a personal injury myself. I herniated a disc in my back, and I very quickly learned what it was like to feel and be the receiver of healthcare rather than the provider of healthcare, like I was as a nurse typically. And very soon I began to recognize what it was like to receive healthcare and be in treatment from people who I felt that really did care about me, doctors and nurses that really did care, or other healthcare providers that maybe didn't care so much. And, I was just another part of their daily day-to-day job. So it got me thinking on the topic of just love in general, like if love is so important for like well-being and in day-to-day life, and it's especially important during a healing crisis or a healing journey or an injury or illness, should it be present or is it present in healthcare? Which ended up turning into my question for my master's thesis. I ended up asking, since I was a nurse, what is the nurse's experience of love in healthcare? So to define love that would be applicable to the healthcare setting, the definition of that kind of love is unconditional, altruistic, non-erotic, and it is actually what allows for healthcare providers to be providing the service towards others. And so I did a qualitative research using Gadamerian hermeneutics as my methodology. And the goal of my research, obviously, was to understand a little bit more about love in nursing and in healthcare. And Gadamer hermeneutics states that in order to understand something, you have to immerse and fully dive into a topic to understand it. And so that's me diving in, a picture, jumping into the topic of love. And I gave nurses cameras of disposable cameras, and they went out and they took pictures of what they felt love and healthcare to look like. And then we did interviews about those pictures, and as well as what they also wanted to additionally add into the interviews. So these are some of the pictures that we developed. And the first picture on the top left-hand side is a box of Kleenex, and it represents openness and being present to patients or people during their times of difficulty, and being present to them if they need to cry or through their various emotions as they're going through their healthcare, through their healing journey. The second picture is 3 nurses' hands in a stethoscope formation of a heart, and it represents a teamwork of and the love that nurses have amongst the team towards one another, and the support and that the care that they show one another amongst the healthcare team. And the bottom picture is a patient and a loved one that has come to visit him, and it represents the love in healthcare that we see, that it's from loved ones and family and friends to patients. So I'm going to kind of read this slide a bit because it can get pretty lengthy if I go off talking about it. But from the immersion in the data, the photos and the interviews, I came to identify 4 dimensions, or as they're called in Gadamerian hermeneutics, horizons of love. And so a horizon is a perspective or an understanding. And in Gadamerian hermeneutics, what will happen is that there will come to be a fusion of horizons where an overall understanding will come to be once immersed in the data. So the first horizon that emerged in my understandings was in the bottom right-hand corner, love is being, I am love, emerged as that love is a component of who we are. It's fundamental for us, it's fundamental for well-being, and we need it to be well. And this was a concept that had come up in the literature review, and it was confirmed by my research and by the interviews and the nurses, the nurse participants' experiences. So next, from this love as being horizon builds upon it, there comes to be a point where we are love, and then we become aware that this is who we are, that love is a part of us, and that we need it to be well. And one component of it was that even though when it seemed like love didn't exist in situations where there was a lot of difficulty, pain, during the illness, or that even though it felt like love wasn't present, it always did seem to be there. It's just, it was like underneath the surface. Love was there, but it was underneath the surface, and it existed as a contrast to love situations and love experiences, to have a better understanding of what love actually was, like how you can appreciate the light because we have the dark. You could appreciate having love and having love-like situations when there was lack of love. So from this awareness of love, the next horizon to emerge was that love is action. And so once we know that love is who we are, and we need it to be well, and it's so important for us, there comes to be a choice to act upon that awareness and act from love. And so love is action were all the actions that the nurses described as being present to and supportive of and respectful, and love actions were using was using touch. It was really important for lots of people to have their hand held, or have somebody just be there and present to them. And it was being compassionate and caring and doing the actions of love in practice. So and then from these actions of love, there were connections made to other people, to the environment, and if that's the fourth horizon, love is connectedness. Love creates connective space. That horizon, if you notice, it also connects back to the love is being horizon. And this was because one of the connections that it made was that in doing love actions and having awareness of love and connecting through love, you would connect to others, but also back to self. And we'll talk about this a little bit more later. So in the center of this model, and I wanted to mention this model is a new contribution to healthcare. It didn't previously exist, and so that's one of my contributions. This research contributes, and in the center of it, I answer my question: what is the nurse's experience of love in healthcare? Well, the answer that came to me was that the nurse's experience of love in healthcare is a lived experience reflective of love in life. What does that mean, we ask? So a lived experience, as Gadamer states, a lived experience is that you cannot understand something until you actually live through it. It's not enough to just observe it. You actually need to go through it and live it, and go through the stages of being, having awareness, doing the actions of, and creating connections through love to actually understand what love is. And the other component of it, that it is reflective of love in life, is that even though I had asked a question that was specific to the presence of love in nursing, it actually ended up being applicable to life in general. That love as being, awareness, action, and connection were applicable to love in life in general. So if love is fundamental to well-being and is a component of who we are, as was shown by the study, and we do need it during illness and injury, well, then it would make sense that it's present in healthcare. So how do we do that? How do we show love in practice? And how does that relate to professional boundaries? So boundaries is a really good question, and can be felt to be like a touchy subject around the presence of love. Like when I was first saying to people that I wanted to study this, I got a lot of feedback saying that, well, love isn't appropriate in healthcare. You're crossing professional boundaries, and it doesn't hold a place in care, right? And So, well, then it really is important to be clear about what our definition of love, the kind of love that is present in healthcare, which is that altruistic, non-erotic, without attachment service towards humanity. And that is the basis of the care that is provided from nurses. And it can be argued that that's what the profession of nursing is based upon. Um, and specifically speaking about boundaries, you can always ask the question, whose needs are being met in this intervention? And if a healthcare professional is acting to best serve the needs of their patients, then most likely they're upholding boundaries. They're not crossing any boundaries. And since love, one of the big things of love is to serve. Serving others and being attentive to others' needs will actually, the ethics of love will help to serve to keep crossing of boundaries not happening. It holds boundaries in place. So, if we're clear about our boundaries, then how do we love? How do we show this love? And the big finding was the immersion, the experience of love is important. One really good way is to tap into how do you feel cared for? How do you feel loved? And you can use that understanding. Is it, does a pat on the back or a rub on the back, or just someone being listening and present to you, and you tap into that, and that is how you can show that to other people. So the actions of love, as mentioned by the nurses, being present to opening and listening to others, being attentive to boundaries, providing support, respect, using touch, being aware of your body language. Are we open and are we talking and present to the person, or are we checking our watch and like out the door as soon as possible? All of that. Our attitudes, how we speak to other, all of that can convey love and caring or not. So other ways that love touches the healthcare continuum is self-care and teamwork. So Sierra talks about self-care, and a quote from her, she says, it's crucial to take care of ourselves so that we can function at our optimum. It's an element of self-love to develop and care for yourself. If we're not taking care of ourselves at the spiritual, intellectual, and emotional level, then how can we really give from a full place? If I'm fully loving towards myself, then I can give that energy. So love for others can be continued on and carried on a continuous basis if we have care for ourselves. And then teamwork, an extension of love that goes into the team, is that if the team is all caring about each other, as Jane says, the doctors, nurses, housekeepers, everyone who works on that unit has that mutual respect for each other, then we can have that for our patients, and it just kind of builds on itself. And so it extends outward, and that teamwork continues on and is transferred over into patient care. So now I want to talk a little bit about HeartMath. If we have, anybody's heard of HeartMath. Very interesting. I came across this through my research, and the Institute of HeartMath is from Boulder, California, and founded by Doc Childre in 1992. So it's been around for, just over 30 years. And they have studied the science and the energy of the heart in relation to the rest of the body and to the environment. And they've found that the heart is 5,000 times more electromagnetically charged than the brain. And something very interesting, well, it is the first fully functioning organ to develop in the body is the heart. And they found through their studies, when they have hooked people up to electroencephalograms and an electrocardiogram at the same time, and did comparison readings of these graphs in response of a person who is looking at a screen, who is being shown images of positive or negative stimuli. And they found that the heart actually responds quicker to the images than the brain did, according to the graphs. And also, even before the computer would switch an image, the heart would respond. So what this tells us is that, well, the heart is actually connected to it's connected to the phenomena of intuition, that gut feeling and knowing something before it's going to happen. And also that the information pathway of where we thought that perhaps that the information comes into the brain and is distributed to the heart and is distributed to the body, it actually comes in through the heart, a good chunk of information through there's sensory cells that are like brain cells in the heart. This information comes in through there, it sends information to the brain, and then disperses it to the rest of the body. So the heart is this gateway of giving and receiving knowledge from the environment that we previously didn't necessarily scientifically recognize. So what HeartMath has shown is that this heart connection and the balance of the heart and the brain results in something called coherence, where the autonomic nervous system is functioning like coherently, and the longer that someone is in a state of coherence, tapping into heart awareness, the more able that they are to deal with stress at that present time and in the future. And it is involved in emotional perception and quicker reaction times and ability to self-regulate. So HeartMath has developed some tools that you can, it's basically through biofeedback like devices. I'm simplifying it, but through these devices, or there's an app that you can plug into your phone or whatever, Inner Balance, like technology, HeartMath. You by regular use of these things, you end up finding that there is a person has more clarity and focus, and less stress, better ability to regulate stress, better sleep. They have ability to deal with difficult people and good teamwork. And yeah, so it's some way that a person can recharge on a regular basis, and then bring that recharged energy to work, and using awareness of the heart. So then finally, I wanted to talk about, so remember from the slide from my, sorry, getting lost. I know it's getting towards the end here, and I just want to make sure I say everything that I need to say, even though I'm probably going over my time. As we were looking at the model of love and healthcare, there was the horizon of love as action. Okay, so this is what I would call the calling of love. And I wanted to talk about this because it's especially relevant, it's especially appropriate during these Corona times that we're facing, because now more than ever, humanity and the world need love and truth to get through these difficult times that we're currently facing. So, now is a time that we have a chance to step up on an individual and societal level and make the choice to act from love. And um, choosing to act from love comes from an awareness of love, of how important love is and how much we need love to make it through our day-to-day life. And it's fundamental to human well-being. The actions of love, in addition to being caring and compassionate and not being judgmental to other people, is that we're facing situations where we really might need to stand up or speak out or act from courage. And courage, by the way, comes from the word cœur, the French word for heart, which means to come from and act from your heart in the face of difficulty and be brave through something. And so acting with courage is to act from your heart. And it is these actions of love that actually show and demonstrate to the world and to the universe where we stand. The awareness is important, being awareness is important, but the actions of love, the choice to act from love, is needed more now than, well, let's say ever. We need love. Our world needs love at this time. So it is a calling, and yes, it is a calling that I'm asking all of you to answer. So finally, to end my little presentation, I would like to do, it's a heart mind connection techniques that I just came across by Greg Braden the other day, and was very interesting. And we'll keep it really short, but why it's important is because it balances the brain and the knowledge and the awareness of the heart with the brain, the left side, the logic of the cerebral brain. And when the two of those come together, then we can have like truer, deeper knowing. And it's a balance between the two. It's not one or the other, but the both of them in combination. So I'm just going to ask you all to quickly, close your eyes and start to take some nice deep breaths. And slow your breathing to about 5 or 6 breaths a minute, rather than the 12 to 20 that we normally do. So about half time breathing. And then bring your hands or your fingertips to about the center of your chest and continue this breathing. And why this is important is when we have physical touch, when we have physical contact with something, then our awareness comes to that point on our body, right? So touching your heart, you're actually bringing all your physical awareness to the point where you're touching. So we're touching our heart and breathing deeply. And the deep breathing component is very important as well, because what that signals to you is that you're in a safe place and you're not in fight or flight. Because you would only be able to breathe like this, you would only be able to slow down your breathing like this in a time when you're feeling very safe and very protected, and either you're in fight or flight or you're in healing. You can be in not both at the same time, you're in one or the other, and you connect to the breathing and to the heart. And then bring into that the feelings of gratitude, joy, appreciation, compassion. And you can continue to breathe like this, and you can continue to touch and be in this state. Because as we do this, it rewires our entire nervous system, our entire brain, and we have the ability to be able to react differently and blend and marry the heart and the brain and all levels of knowledge together through these techniques. So continue on breathing like this. That basically concludes my presentation.
I would like to conclude my presentation on love and say thank you from the bottom of my heart. Let's open up for questions.
Okay, just gonna sit here and listen to some questions for a few minutes. Okay, nobody's there, but yeah, in case anybody like pops in the next minute, I'll be around. And yeah, otherwise, thank you for all listening to this, even if it's after the fact, no problemo. The point is that we hear this message, and yeah, we should, if we're interested in the topic, wonderful. Thank you for being here. Share questions and comments in the discussion section after, and welcome.